What is up, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. It is a gorgeous Wednesday morning. Here we go. We are halfway through the week. A little bit more injury news to go over. And obviously, today we do our fantasy deep dive. We do Hawks locks for this coming week. So let's go ahead and let's jump into this. So, looking at the landscape and looking how everything is currently, I was going through and I was watching some clips last night, going through the games and everything else. And something that the NFL has preserved that college football has to figure out how to preserve is the opportunity for anybody to make a playoff run. I looked this up, and I'm sure most of you know most of these teams. But there is something about making the postseason. You get the extra money from that postseason, and it matters. The team that has not made the playoffs, that has the longest drought, is the New York Jets. 14 seasons. Second is the Panthers at 7. The Atlanta Falcons also are at a 7-year playoff drought right now. And then you got these 4 teams. The Indianapolis Colts, Chicago Bears, and New Orleans Saints. The last time all those teams made the playoffs was the year 2020. And what that tells me, when you only have 6 of 32 teams that haven't made the playoffs in the last 3 years, and you only have 3 teams that haven't made the playoffs in the last 4 years, the parity is real. Last year, from 2023 to 2024, we had 4 new playoff teams. The 4 teams that missed the playoffs in 2023, or missed the playoffs in 2024, that made them in 2023 were the Browns, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the 49ers. Yes, the Browns, Dolphins, Cowboys, 49ers. Now, I think we would all agree that the 49ers are the closest to getting back to the playoffs of that group of 4 right there. But doing the simple math, just doing simple math, in a perfect world, every team will make the playoffs within an 8-year span. In a perfect world. There are 4 teams that made the playoffs in 2022 and have not been back since. The Seahawks, Jaguars, Giants, and Bengals. Seahawks have a team. They could end that drought this year. Jaguars, we'll see what they become, but with the Bengals struggling, which is also one of the teams, the Bengals, without Joe Burrow, Jacksonville could easily slide into that wild card spot. The Giants look like it's going to be a while before they get back. But when you look at the NFL, the parity is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Now, in college football, and people are, depending on who you are, some are like, well, that's just business. Others will say it's the cost of being able to grow, whatever it may be. UCLA, I mentioned this on Monday, fired their head coach, Deshaun Foster, an alumni. They have the lowest NIL amount of money for football. They're tied for the lowest in the Big Ten. And it's not that they don't have very successful alumni that are amazing entrepreneurs that have money to give back if they chose to. UCLA football is not UCLA basketball. Basketball has about $6 million in NIL, which for basketball is really, really good. Really good. But college football is losing, especially with all the realignment, canceling the games that actually matter. We've got rivalries that hadn't happened. We have Missouri and Kansas. That's a huge game. We had backyard brawl, Pittsburgh versus West Virginia. That's a huge game. Virginia Tech, Virginia. That's in the ACC, but Virginia Tech and West Virginia isn't. It was a great rivalry. College football has to somehow preserve the parity with all the money that's coming in, which is why they've got to get a revenue share system built. It has to become amateur football. It can no longer be just college football. But then you're going to lose the college aspect of all this, which is worse. They went down this road. It is filled with potholes. It's a road that's uneven. You know those signs for uneven lanes? Well, this road is like this. And then it'll switch back this way. And then it'll switch back this way. This road that they're going down in college football is not great 3, 4, 5 years down the line. It's okay now as everybody's trying to figure it out. But unless they figure it out in a way that keeps number 14 in the Big Ten as able to compete as number 1, nobody's going to recruit the same as Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. Your recruiting ability comes into play, but they have to have the funds at the bottom to be able to compete when given the opportunity. Nebraska. I believe Matt Rhule is a good coach. I don't think he's great. I think he's good. And I will tell you, I've got Nebraska over Michigan this week. I believe Nebraska has that ability, especially at home, to be another Iowa. You don't want to go play in Nebraska. That would be great. That's what I've said about Iowa forever. You win 9, 10 games a year, who cares? That's why Kirk Ferentz will never be fired. He can recruit Iowa. The players get drafted in the NFL. On Sunday Night Football, you have many players that go, name Iowa. And at the end of the day, that's what you're selling. I will prepare you to play football at the next level. And most Iowa kids are amazing at football. They are mentally sound at the game of football when Kirk Ferentz is done with them. You need programs like that because the reality is the flashy Ohio State, how many Ohio State quarterbacks failed? They're just flashy. They're just kind of riz. That's all they are. They're the cherry on top. They weren't actually quarterbacks. We've seen it with a bunch of different programs. How many true Alabama quarterbacks actually ended up starting in the NFL and being successful? You got one. Hurts. Bryce Young doesn't count yet. Maybe Jalen Milroe will grow. We don't know. I remember Greg McElroy. I remember Parker Wilson. Alabama doesn't have quarterbacks. Georgia, forever. Matt Stafford was the best Georgia quarterback. David Green failed. DJ Shockley failed. Stafford was the best for a long time. Florida, Chris Leak was really good in college. Never did anything in the NFL. Tim Tebow's spirit, his competitiveness, his edge, that's why he worked a little bit in the NFL. Wasn't a great quarterback. I mean, you've got to in this now time frame of money and general managers being part of college football, you have to preserve the parity and the visual outlook of any team can do something this year. The game this weekend I am most looking forward to is Indiana, Illinois. But that's like 1AA, and 1A is Texas Tech and Utah. Those are the games I can't wait to see. Those are the games that are already week 4 in college football going to affect November in college football. That's great. That's what we need. That's conference opponents, both of them, looking to be able to try to take the next step. The Big 12 is ultra competitive. Everybody's like, but it's the weaker conference. I don't care. I want to watch competitive football. That's competitive. Those rivalries are real. Utah, BYU, that's a rivalry, guys. Don't get in the middle of that one. The reality is college football has to figure out how to preserve the aesthetic of you don't have to stay at the bottom. UCLA football right now looks dead. They have no NIL money for football. The Rose Bowl is a gorgeous venue. The campus next to Stanford is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful campus. And they have no money for NIL football. Their basketball, though, does get a focus. $6 million in NIL to UCLA basketball. We can't lose John Wooden's legacy. And I get that. I get that. But you got to give football something, because football's where you're going to make money. You can't lose football in college sports now. It's got too much money in it. You've got to keep it. And as a whole, and I'm talking everybody, the commissioners, everybody has to be aware that those games, those teams are vitally important to the success of Ohio State, to the success of Georgia, Notre Dame, etc. I was reading a couple stories, and I was watching back on some of the games this Sunday, and it just hit me. The Patriots don't look like a great team right now. They're still an absolute pick for my playoffs. I'm absolutely picking them to make the playoffs. When that offensive line gels, when Josh McDaniels, Drake may look better week 2 than he did week 1. That's all you can ask for. And I think he'll look better week 3 than he did week 2. It's a brand new system. McDaniels runs a complicated system. Give the kids some time. The Broncos, everybody's like, oh, maybe we were too high on them. Really? Bo Nix is still making plays. He's spreading the ball around. The penalties is what lost him the game in Indy. Being a little sloppy early. Sean Payton's going to fix it. Relax. Everybody's like, well, the Texans are out. Forget the Texans. They lost by 5 to the Rams, and they lost at the end of the game to one of the Buccaneers. Both teams, one of them has Super Bowl aspirations for sure with the Rams, and one of them is definitely in talks to win their division. They're on the same level. They didn't get blown out. New offensive coordinator. They're working into everything. By the way, the Texans' offense looked better as the game went on. Relax. You can go 0-2. They could rattle off 8 straight wins, be 8-2, top of the division. Everybody's going, holy crap, what happened? It's the beauty of NFL football. That is the beauty of the NFL. All right. We got a lot to go over. We got some fun fantasy stuff to go over, but first, we need to go over the 10,000 foot view of sports. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you what else is going on in the world besides football. 10,000 foot view of sports. All right, last night, game number 2 between the Atlanta Dream and the Indiana Fever, and by golly, George, the Indiana Fever did not feel like being done. At home, first quarter was 20-14 Fever. Second quarter, the teams tied at 15 points. Then the Fever in the third quarter pulled away, outscoring the Dream 24-15 and outscoring them 18-16 in the fourth quarter. The big one, though, was Alicia Gray for the Atlanta Dream. That was the big one. She was 4 of 16 from the field. That's really where the struggle was. That's really where it came down to. Odyssey Sims for the Fever was also 1 of 10. So kind of all over the place. It's a playoff game. It happens. But the Fever get the victory. They hang on. Final game is tomorrow night back in Atlanta. The Fever wins 77-60 over the Atlanta Dream. The Las Vegas Aces, a team that had been on an absolute tear, 17 games in a row win streak. The Seattle Storm last night, they had a comeback. It was impressive. Vegas, first quarter, 22-21. Second quarter, they're tied. So at halftime, you're looking at a 45-44 game at halftime. Then the Aces come out in the third quarter. They get a 8-point lead because outscored them 24-17 in the third quarter. And then the Storm. And this is what was really interesting because you watch the odds to win. This was really, really weird. The Storm didn't really have a great shot of winning. They were down. So this is where we were. So at the height, Las Vegas was up with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left by 9. 79-70. 79-70. The Seattle Storm, with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left, go on a 16-4 run in the final 4 minutes and 50 seconds. 16-4. At that point, the Aces had a 94.5% chance of winning. And it dwindled down to they had a 75% chance of winning. With 53 seconds left, the Storm were down by 2, 83-81. And then they hit a and one layup and a free throw, take the lead, and they finish the game with free throws. Playoff basketball is fun. The playoffs are fun. If some of you are missing some of these games, go back and watch the highlights. This is an 86-83 game. In the playoffs, if the Storm lose, they're out. Aces move on. Now we've got game 3 tomorrow night back in Las Vegas on ESPN2. That is what we got. Tonight, we have game 2 of the Mercury at the Liberty. New York stole the one in Phoenix. Can Phoenix get their game back in New York? And then you've got the Lynx against the Valkyries in Golden State. We'll see what happens. See what happens. Remember, this is a 1-1-1. Home, 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 and that's it. It's a best-of-3 series. So tonight, you're on the road if you're the higher seed. And then on the final day, which is going to be, depending on how tonight goes, that will be Saturday, would be the final day of round number 1. All right, let's go to baseball because this is really interesting. This keeps happening to the Dodgers, and this isn't good. This isn't good. The Dodgers bullpen spoiled Ohtani's five inning no hit bid and his 50th home run and lost to the Phillies 9-6. Also in the NL West, the Diamondbacks won again. They came back from being behind and they beat the Giants 6-5. So the Diamondbacks are sneaking in on that wild card spot. The St. Louis Cardinals blanked the Cincinnati Reds, which hurts their wild card. The Rangers lost again to the Astros, which is taking them further down the list. But the Mariners won and the Yankees won. And then there's this game that I said, this series is huge. The Guardians beat the Tigers yesterday in 10. They knock off the Tigers 7-5. The Athletics knocked off Boston 2-1. The Mets got the W over the Padres 8-3. So your daily update is very simply this. The Astros are a half game back of the Mariners still, but now the Rangers, who have lost 3 in a row, are 4.5 back of the lead and 4 back of the second spot in the AL West. The Red Sox, let's finish the AL West. The Mariners have won 10 in a row. FYI. The Mariners have now won 10 in a row. The Astros have a lot of pressure on them to keep going if they want to keep pace with the Mariners. Cal Raleigh, Ty Griffey's record last night, 56 home runs. Congratulations to him. I hope he can get to 60. I really hope he can get to 60. But the Mariners look good. They're now 83-68. And that team that's in front of them, the Tigers and the Guardians in the Central, that matchup is everything right now. The Guardians have won 5 in a row. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They are creeping up on the Tigers. They're only 5.5 back now. They've got 5 more games just against the Tigers in these last 2 weeks. They could easily make this interesting. The Tigers have had trouble. They have really had trouble recently. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. All I know is the Tigers lack the pop, especially with pitching. They really lack what they need right now. And then you go to the AL East, and this is really weird. The Red Sox are 7 games back of the Blue Jays. The Yankees are 5. But when you look at the wild card now, the Red Sox are the team in the 7th or 6th position. It now goes Yankees, Astros, Red Sox. The Red Sox are playing the Athletics. I've been telling you guys, you don't want to play the Athletics. They've won 5 in a row. The Athletics are 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 5 in a row. Guess what? That is affecting a lot of teams. They swept the Reds, and now they already beat the Red Sox. The Athletics are a team you don't want to mess with. You don't want to play a scrappy team. We know this in college football. We know this in the NFL late in the year. These teams, they're just scrappy. They're fighting. They may be out of it, but their pride is on the line. And then you get this higher team who's in the playoffs. They're trying to look ahead, and they get a little comfortable. It happens in baseball too. Don't sleep. When your team is playing, like yesterday, the Twins almost came back and beat the Yankees. The Yankees had that game in hand, and it ended up being 10-9. It's not out of the realm of possibility for these teams that are at the bottom of the standings to beat these other teams. Now, let's move to the NL wild card. Let's work backwards. The Cubs won again yesterday. Hallelujah. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They now have a 9-game comfortable lead for that 4th position. Good. Thank goodness. Padres are sitting there. And then the Mets, who have now won 2 in a row, 2-8 in their last 10. Congratulations. But the Mets are only a game and a half in front of the Diamondbacks, 3 games in front of the Reds, and 3 games in front of the Giants. That final position in the National League wild card really is the only position we're watching. But in the American League wild card, the Yankees are only 2 games ahead of that 6th spot. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, the Rangers have to win tonight if they want to keep pace with the wild card. I don't think you can get much more. 4.5 is going to be a bit much. But if you can chop that down to 2.5 tonight, then you've got the Guardians, the Rangers, both 2.5 games out of the wild card spot, and everybody can flip-flop right there. The Mariners they don't have the AL West secured by any stretch. This is fantastic. This is what baseball needs. It just needs to be in August so that everybody can get excited about it a little bit more while we're waiting for football to start. It's that simple. It really is that simple. They just got to the season's got to cut off a month. The World Series is going to be in November, for gosh sakes. Come on. We love October baseball, not November baseball. Come on. Please. Anyway, so there is your Major League Baseball update. There is your Major League Baseball update. There is no update in the NBA right now. We're still waiting on all that to kick off. But an injury, a different type of injury, one that I don't know if it will affect the team or not. Sean McVay tore his plantar fascia on the sideline in Nashville on Sunday. Now, I love this. I love this because he's the head coach. He jumps up and down. He runs around. It's awesome. And this is the quote when asked about how it may affect him. And he goes, well, the good news is I'm not playing. I'm just on the sidelines. And if I get to walk around with a cool limp, it'll add some swag. And you know why? It's that plantar fascia. And I'm like, that's a typical 39-year-old answer right there. But he is so intense. He even gets injuries as a coach. A coach gets injured. A head coach gets injured. I absolutely love it. I hope he's on the injury report. I really hope he's on the injury report. I hope he puts himself on the injury report. Sean McVay, head coach, questionable. And I guarantee you the players will have a bunch of fun with that questionable. Be like, yep, that's for sure. He is definitely questionable. I hope he gets put on the injury report. I really hope he does. Like, yep, Sean McVay, questionable. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. So, it is time. It is time. Here we go. Let's do Hawks Locks first. So, on the year, I am currently 4-2 with my lock picks for the spread. So these are my bets that I will make against the spread itself. So this week I got 3 games and all of them I'm taking the over. And some will be like, well, that's pretty easy. The NFL shouldn't be like this. But Miami and Buffalo is an 11.5 point game right now. Green Bay and Cleveland is only 7.5. The Buccaneers and the Jets, this one really intrigues me. Why is it only 6.5? No, I'm not kidding. Why is the Jets and the Buccaneers at Tampa Bay, by the way, only a 6.5 point line? I don't get that one. I am taking the Bucks and the over the whole time. The whole time. I, I, I don't get this one. Another game I don't get is the Saints at Seattle. Listen, the Saints in a dome have done decent at competing. Now they go outdoors to Seattle. Spencer Rattler indoors compared to Spencer Rattler outdoors. It's a big difference. The team is different. Seattle is home, playing in the 12th man. Are you kidding me? And it's only a 7.5 point spread. I would have put this at 9.5 myself. So I'm going over of the 7.5. I think Seattle's line is much better. I think their defense for the Saints it's questionable at best. So I'm going with Seahawks, 7.5 point favorites. I'm taking the over. I'm taking that over. And then the final game, the Falcons at the Panthers. It's a 5.5 point spread, and the Falcons are on the road. But the Panthers, both starting guards, just went on IR. The Minnesota Viking offensive line is yards better than the Panther offensive line. And the Falcons just sacked McCarthy 6 times. What do you think they're going to do to Bryce Young? So I'm taking the over. I'm taking the Bucks at 6.5, the Falcons at 5.5, and the Seahawks at 7.5. Pound the overs with those. Those are my Hawks locks for week number 3 in the NFL season. I don't get those odds. 5.5 point, that's it. The injuries are starting to mount for some teams, and it will happen. It does happen. So we'll see what happens. All right, here we go. Time for our fantasy deep dive, and I've been looking forward to this. No lie. This week I've been looking forward to this 150%. So here we go. What are the numbers behind some of the games that we saw? So here we go. First of all, best manager this week, Krusty Socks. He had 97% of the lineup correct. 33 needs a ring. Unfortunately, only had 63% of their lineup that could have been in there. I myself had an outstanding week. That was because, really simple, Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not even going to lie to you. Without those two, it's a lot closer. Without those two, it is a heck of a lot closer. But had the biggest blowout by 71%. Skins is a great guy. I love Skins. He's awesome. But I decided not to give him a shot this week. And then Slim beats TJ by 4.1%. That game came down until the final Monday Night Football game was over. All right, looking at the next one. I was the highest scorer this week, 154.4 points. 33 needs a ring, had 66.52. I overachieved, and he underachieved. So sometimes it's just who gets injured, what happens, and that is the whole thing with fantasy football. This week especially, you got to watch certain games. And I'll give you a couple of examples here when we get through this. You look there at the bottom, the best quarterback of the week in fantasy football was Jared Goff. He had 23 of 28 completions, 334 yards, 5 touchdowns. He had a touchdown of 40 plus and and 2 completions of 40 plus, and then he also had a 6-yard scamper. The best running back of the week was Jonathan Taylor, 31.5 points, 25 carries, 165 yards, 1 rush of 40 plus yards. 2 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown, and one of them was that gorgeous screenplay for 42 yards or whatever it was. So those are your 2 best ones there. You also have the best wide receiver this week was Malik Nabers. He had 39.7, 9 of 13 receptions, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 touchdown reception over 40 yards. Trey McBride was one of the better tight ends, but Tucker Kraft was the best at 124 yards, a touchdown, and he had that really long touchdown too. Really, really long touchdown. So this week, the best defense was the Falcons. 23.5 points. They had the 2 interceptions, 6 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. It was a big week. It was a really, really big week for that Falcon defense. All right, let's look at the standings here at the end of week 2. Looking at the NFC, sitting on top, yours truly. 243.18 points. And I have allowed 171.7 points. The reality with this is, real reality with this is, I have no control over how many points are allowed against me. I have 0 control over that. But I do have control over whether or not I start the right people to score the most points. So right now, I got the top. I'm happy. I got the top. I'm good with this. Second is J.A., not doing bad at all. He's 2-0. Skins is 1-1. Balls is 1-1. JPJ is 1-1. Carl's 1-1. Krusty is 1-1. And then 33 Needs a Ring is currently 0-2 with the lowest points for total. Now, when you look at the AFC, Blue Stampede. Blue Stampede. Let me tell you something about Blue Stampede. He had been commenting, and he tries to play this slow game, where he's like, oh, I'm not going to be that good. I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm just here to be able to kind of play whatnot. Listen. Just listen. He's good. He's going to be fighting for a top spot in this side of our league. Dab, best co-commissioner, best co-manager. He's my brother from another mother. I love the guy. He's going to be up there. Stampede is fighting with him. And I told him best of luck. Best of luck. Because Dab Time and I have an inner rivalry between the two of us. It's fun. He dominates most of it. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And then when I beat him, he calls me a son of a gun. Just not as in nice of words. But nonetheless, sitting at third is TJ. Fourth is Slim. Then you've got Dravin sitting there at fifth. Jake from State Farm. Love that. Sitting there in sixth. Unfortunately, the Kansas City Chief fan is also 0-2, just like his Chiefs. Sorry, I had to take that dig. I mean, it's the reality. He's 0-2, just like the Chiefs are 0-2. I mean, there's a correlation here. Come on. And then finally is Ashton 316. And unfortunately for him, just like Ashton, he's had 2 games where he just hasn't been able to do anything. So, that is our weekly update on Thunder Sports, the fantasy football league. I changed the organization from Birds of Thunder with the esports and everything to now it's for fantasy sports. And that is the update for heading into week number 3. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper on what this does. Because when you look at how injuries, you see the injuries when you're reading ESPN, Fox, whatever it may be. But what impact does it really have? Well, fantasy football owners kind of feel injuries a little bit differently, but in a sense the same as teams do. In the way that when you lose a player like Joe Burrow, okay, let me just kind of play this out for you. So Joe Burrow is sitting on a team right now that they may need to go get another quarterback because he's out. And that's what this kind of changes. The guy that has J.J. McCarthy will need to now pick up Carson Wentz or Mac Jones or Jake Browning, whoever it may be, to have the backup in this league. Most everybody only has two quarterbacks. You got your rookies here and there. Most only have two starters. It's a 16-team league. Most everybody has two starters. When injuries happen, fantasy football players kind of feel it the same way the main teams do. Aaron Jones, running back for the Vikings. Number one, he wasn't used the same. And number two, he is now injured and on IR. That really hurts his owners. They thought he was going to be a big run-focused running back for the Vikings. That was the thought heading into this year. The same was thought for guys like Brian Robinson. The Commanders traded him. People were like, well, they got the offensive line. He's going to run. This is going to be big. Well, then everybody drafted Joe Mixon before all the injury news about Mixon came out. And now Mixon may not even play this year. It really does. And remember, this entire segment, whether you love to play it or not, is to give you the background to what really happens with all these injuries and how much it can affect. This is fantasy. I understand that. It's amazing. I love it. Live it, breathe it. But you feel the same thing. I have Bo Nix. Okay? I have Bo Nix. The reality is, if Bo Nix gets hurt, I may shed a tear. Because that is a huge part of my plan of fighting for a championship in the league. He is one of the catalysts for me to do so. And that's how I look at everything. It gives you the appreciation for what these teams have to go through with all these injuries. The offensive guards for Carolina don't matter to me. But Bryce Young, the players that have Bryce Young have very little security right now that he's going to be able to do anything because now his offensive line is a wreck. It affects a lot of different things. Football is king. Football has the most money. Football is the number one sport in this country. We love football because of this. And when you're sitting here as a fantasy owner and you get these injuries with Jones, McCarthy, Joe Burrow, that's a huge one. There are players that are, Rashee Rice getting injured. I mean, wow. Rashee Rice suspended. Sorry, Xavier Worthy getting injured. Then we got players that are waiting on Chris Godwin to come back. There's so many things that go into fantasy football that give you the feeling of a real general manager. And it makes you respect. If you pay attention, it makes you respect what the 32 general managers in the NFL have to go through. I don't care as much about defensive injuries. Obviously, fantasy football is a skill player, platform. It's a skill player set. Receivers, tight ends, running backs, quarterbacks, it's skill players. The defense is as a whole, not individual most of the time. And then you have the kicker, whatever. It's really hard to adjust. There's not a lot of people available. The waiver wire, especially in this 16-man league, the waiver wire is slightly thin. It makes you really look for the guys that could pop. It makes you look for those dark horses, those sleepers. It makes you be what a GM has to be in the NFL. And it also shows you then, like Ryan Poles with Chicago. I don't know if he's good, okay, or bad. I can't really figure out what he is. But I do know this. Caleb Williams right now, if Ben Johnson can't get him to stop playing hero ball, will not be starting for the Chicago Bears. He loves Tyson Bagent. He believes he can win with Tyson Bagent. And the worst thing for Caleb Williams in Chicago would be if Tyson Bagent came in and they started winning, because all he does is follow the game plan that Ben Johnson lays out. Caleb likes hero ball. He doesn't see the field well. I told you, he doesn't see the field well. Every play that he does is off of a broken play where the defense is just covering for 10 seconds. And in college, you can't do it. In the NFL, people are fast enough. They can recover. And it's proved to be an Achilles heel of his. J.J. McCarthy, 8 quarters, 7 bad, 1 good. Carson Wentz starts against the Bengals this week. What if Minnesota's offense looks amazing? What if Minnesota's offense is all of a sudden clicking and Justin Jefferson has 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, they get Hawkinson involved, Matt Mason's running the ball well? Can you go back to McCarthy? I don't know. Can you? Jake Browning, we watched him. He's done this before. He's helped the Bengals just float, which is why they can't get a really good draft pick, because Browning's good enough to make them float. They can just kind of tread water. Beat the teams they should. They'll lose to the teams they should lose to. It's what it is. The Jets are preparing to start Tyrod Taylor over Justin Fields. The Jets are 0-2. What if Tyrod Taylor comes in, Garrett Wilson has a big game, the running game looks better, and he just controls everything? I'm really starting to wonder if these quarterbacks coming out, I have faith in Garrett Nussmeier, I have faith in Drew Aller, I have faith in Cade Klubnik. I don't care what the record for Clemson is. I trust those 3 quarterbacks. Why? They will follow the game plan. Sean Payton, week number 1, said it was my fault for the interceptions Bo Nix had. Week 2, he had 1. And you know what that 1 was? Everybody's like, that was a horrible pick. He short-armed it. Watch the plays before you comment on one. I wish people would do this. Play There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and close this out because evidently my computer decided it wanted to crap out. So here we go. Let's close this up. We are done. We are done with Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Make it the best Wednesday that you can. Tomorrow, we will get moving into the previews, get everything going, and we'll look ahead to this weekend. We will look ahead to this weekend. Cannot wait for it. All right, here we go. So, make it the best day you can. I